In this video, I'm going to show you the best and the worst love matches for your life path number in numerology. So if you're looking for love right now, you are definitely going to want to see this. Let's get into it. Hi guys, my name is Carmen. I am a matchmaker and I'm also a dating coach to the clients that I match together. I also provide relationship guidance and relationship coaching to couples based on their numerological and their astrological birth charts. So if you are interested in finding out more about my services, I will leave the information to that below. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, welcome to my channel. Feel free to subscribe, and you can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. So what exactly is a life path number in numerology? Well, in numerology, the life path number is the most important number because it basically determines the reason why you were born and the reason why you are here. And so if you're not really sure right now as to why you're here or, what you want to do with your life exactly, the life path number in numerology is a really good place to start, and it's a really good way to find out more information as to what exactly you're here for and what exactly you need to do with your life. So the life path number, like I said, is very important. And if you don't know what that is, I will leave the information below to an app that you can use that will help you to determine this. And this app is completely free, and I don't have any affiliation to it, but I want you guys to be able to determine what this number is because I think it will be really helpful to you. And all you have to do is put in your birth date and your full name, and it will calculate this number for you. And it's also very important for you to know this number because it really will help you to determine what people in life are good matches for you and what people are not matches for you. It will help you to see who's compatible with you and who is not compatible with you. Because in numerology, there are some number combinations that go really, really well together. And there are other number combinations that don't go well together a lot. And so one of the things that I do as a matchmaker is I match people together based on the numbers in their numerological charts as well as the numbers in their astrological charts, based on the criteria that they've given me, and I will find them matches based on their number charts and based on their astrological charts. So it's a very comprehensive process, and it's a very comprehensive way to match people together. And one of the things that I've discovered is that there are some numbers that go really, really well together, and there are some numbers that don't go well together. And a lot of times, I can determine right away just by looking at the numbers. I can see if a couple will have conflict. I can see how well they will get along together, how easygoing the relationship will be. Because some numbers are compatible with each other and other numbers are not compatible with each other. So I want to share this information with you today because I really think it will be helpful to you in your life. What are some numbers that are more likely to bring conflict into your life? And other numbers that are more likely to make your life easier? So my analysis is based on the work of numerologist Glynis McCants, as well as from my own experience from matching people together for so many years. So the first number combination group that really goes well together is life path numbers 1, 5, and 7. These numbers go really, really well together because, well, the first thing is they are all odd numbers, and in numerology, all of the odd numbers tend to go really, really well together, and the even numbers tend to go really, really well together. Now that's because the odd numbers tend to have a similar energy, and the even numbers tend to have a similar energy. Now in the case of 1, 5, and 7, these numbers also tend to be very individualistic. They tend to all like to have their own autonomy, and they tend to all like to have their own space. They all like to have a certain level of freedom. So this kind of goes really, really well together because all of these numbers, 1, 5, and 7, are very independent. And so a life path number 1 will look at a life path number 5 and 7, and they will really admire how independent these two numbers are, and vice versa. So a life path number 7 will look at a life path number 1 and a life path number 5, and they will also admire how independent these numbers are as well. So 1, 5, and 7 also tend to be what I like to call the visionary numbers. So what that means is that these numbers tend to be able to think outside of the box a little bit more than the other numbers, and they tend to be able to have more abstract thinking. And a lot of the great visionaries of our time have been either life path number 1s, 5s, or 7s. And so moving on to the next group of numbers, 2, 4, and 8. So, as you can see, 2, 4, and 8 are all even numbers, and like I said, they go really well together because the even numbers tend to have a similar energy. And that is that these numbers tend to be all very stable. These numbers are also very grounded, and they are also very traditional. And so a 2 will look at a 4 and an 8 and will admire these qualities in them because they have these qualities themselves, and vice versa. An 8 will look at a 2 and a 4 and say, hey, that 4 over there or that 2 over there is a very stable person, and they have their act together, and they have a great job, and they're very organized, and that 8 will admire those qualities in those numbers, and vice versa. Now, another reason why 2, 4, and 8 go really, really well together is that you will notice that 4 is a multiple of 2, and 8 is a multiple of 2 and 4. So these numbers are all interconnected, and that means that they all are kind of amplifications of each other. They all have very similar qualities. They all tend to want companionship, something traditional, and something very stable. So moving on to the next group, 3, 6, and 9. So 2 of these numbers are odd numbers, 3 and 9, and one of these numbers is an even number. But in this situation, there's an exception to that. Like I said, all the odd numbers tend to go well together and all the even numbers tend to go well together. Well, in this situation, there's an exception because 6 is a multiple of 3 and 9 is a multiple of 3 as well. So just like the last group, these numbers are all interconnected to each other, and they are all amplifications of each other. So basically, 6 and 9 are just amplifications of number 3, the way 4 and 8 are just amplifications of the number 2. So what that means is that they all tend to have that one thing in common, which is creativity. So these are all very creative numbers, whether that be through creative expression, such as creative writing, acting, singing, dancing, art, or through some other form of creation, such as creating a family or creating a home. That is a common thread between these numbers. They like to create things. So life path number 3s will often have multiple children. Life path number 6s often tend to get married and start families at very young ages, and life path number 9s as well. Now, another common thread between this group is that they like to give service to others. So for 3s, it's giving service to others through their creative expression. For a 6, it's service to others in the community. So a lot of doctors and nurses tend to be life path number 6s. Life path number 9s give service to humanity. So they tend to be the ones that like to do charity work, and they like to give back a lot. So they will all look at these qualities within each other, and they will admire those qualities because they have these qualities within themselves. So moving on to the next number, number 11, which is a master number. I wanted to do a separate category for master number 11 because it is a little bit different than the other numbers. So if your life path number is a master number 11, congratulations. basically all that means is that if Earth is a university and we're all down here to learn something in this university of life, while most people are working on a bachelor's degree, if your life path is a number 11, you're working on a master's degree. So basically, your life is going to be a little bit different than everybody else's because you're working on a more challenging, advanced degree than other people. So one of the things that makes master number 11 a little bit different than the other numbers is that it has the qualities of the number 2 and it also has the qualities of the number 1. Because 11 has 2 ones in it, so it has the qualities of number 1, but it has double the qualities of number 1. So the qualities of the number 1 are amplified. But it also has the qualities of the number 2 because if you add 1 plus 1, it equals 2. So it has the unique qualities of the number 1 and it also has the qualities of the number 2, which is very interesting because 1 and 2 are very opposite. These numbers are very, very different than each other. So because 11 has the qualities of number 1 and it also has the qualities of a number 2, it can go well with odd numbers and it can also go well with some even numbers as well. So really good combinations for the number 11 are 1, because like I said, 11 has that double amplification of the number 1. And because it has such strong 1 energy, it also goes well with the other numbers that 1 goes well with, which are 5 and 7. Now, because it has the qualities of a number 2, 11s also go really well with number 2s as well. It probably goes a little bit better with the other numbers such as 1, 5, and 7, just because I've noticed that 11 tends to be a little bit more like number 1 than number 2, just because it has the double amplification of the number 1. But with that said, it also has the qualities of a number 2. Such as a great ability to cooperate with others and a strong need for companionship. So 11s are going to need a partner and they're going to need a companion a little bit more than a number 1 will. Another great match for master number 11 is a number 9. There's just something about this combination. They tend to go really, really well together. Another great match for a life path number 11 is a number 7. So all of these number matches that I've just given you are not only compatible with each other, but they are also natural matches. So that just means that they naturally go well together. And so you're not going to have a lot of fighting and there's not going to be a lot of arguing because they all tend to have similar qualities that make them more compatible. So now we're moving on to the worst love matches for your life path number. Now I wanted to say beforehand that if you happen to be in a relationship with somebody who is someone that I would consider to be a bad combination for you, don't freak out. That just means that it's going to be a little bit more challenging for you than it would be for a number that is a natural match for you. So that doesn't mean that your relationship is completely doomed and that there's no hope. It just means that it's going to be more challenging for you. And so if it has been more challenging for you, now you will see why exactly it's been challenging for you. And you will have that perspective now. So before we get into each number, I wanted to mention that the reason why these numbers are not good combinations is that they just are not compatible with each other. So there's a lot of differences between these numbers. And so they will look at the differences within the other numbers and they will be confused as to why exactly that number is acting like that or why this number is doing that, because they don't have that in common with them. And so that's why it's challenging. They're just very different naturally and they're just not going to be able to change each other. So with that said, the worst love matches for a life path number 1 are 4 and 6. So life path number 1s tend to be very high energy and they're very spontaneous and they don't like routine and they kind of just like to do things spontaneously. Fours and sixes are very different than that because they're very organized and they like to plan things ahead of time. And they need to know what the plan is before they do something. And with a one, that's not going to sit very well because they don't like to plan anything out. They just like to kind of march to the beat of their own drum and kind of just go wherever the wind takes them. So the outgoing high energy of the number one is not going to sit well with the lower energies of the 4 and the 6, which are less outgoing and more homebodies. And so the worst love matches for a life path number 2 are number 5 and 7. So 2 is an even number, 5 and 7 are both odd numbers. 2s really need companionship. They tend to be a little bit dependent on other people. 5 and 7, well, they're very the opposite. They are very independent. They like their freedom. They need to have their space. And a 2 is not going to like that. That's not going to sit well with a 2. A 2 is going to think that there's something wrong with the relationship or there's something wrong with them and will not understand why a 5 and a 7 need to have so much space and kind of need to have their freedom. So that is not a good combination. Also, a 5 and a 7 will see a 2 as being very needy, and that will be a big turnoff to them. And so the worst love matches for a life path number 3 are 4, 7, and 8. So 3s tend to be very creative, and they can be a little scattered because they tend to scatter their energy in multiple areas because they're very social and they are very creative people. And one of the ways they get their creativity is from being social and interacting with a lot of people. It helps their creative process. So a 4 and an 8 are these are very organized numbers. 7s also. They're very organized numbers. They're not scattered at all. They're very focused. They're very focused, and they can be laser focused. And so they will look at a 3 and they will think that the 3 is very scattered. And so a 3 will look at a 4 and an 8 and will think that they're not really living their life to the fullest. They'll think that they're not really having a lot of fun and that they work too much and that they're kind of boring and maybe dry. You know, whereas the 3 is a free-spirited writer or a free-spirited artist, a 4 and an 8 would be, a lawyer or a business person. So that match would just be not a good combination. 3 and 7 aren't a good combination because 3s are very social and 7s are not very social. They're very introverted. So unless a 7 had other numbers within their chart to mitigate the introversion, such as a more extroverted number as the expression number or the soul's urge number, then the 2 will always just be judging each other basically because they are very different. The worst love matches for a life path number 4 are 1, 3, 5, and 9. And as you can see, 4 is an even number and all of those numbers are odd numbers, so not a good combination. For a life path number 5, the worst love matches are a 2, 4, and 6. So 2, 4s, and 6s are all going to want a commitment very early on in the relationship, and a 5 is not going to be able to give that to them right away. A 5 is going to need to take their time and to kind of feel the relationship out before they give anybody a commitment, because 5s need a lot of freedom and they like to have a lot of change and they like transition, and they are not going to be committing to anybody anytime soon. Okay, it's a very non-committal number. And like I said, 2, 4s, and 6s, they want commitment very early on and they want to get married and they want to start having families very early on. And 5s, like to take their time and they're very reluctant to jump into anything that involves a commitment. Now, that doesn't mean that 5s never get married and they never have committed relationships. A lot of times they do, and when they do end up committing to somebody, it usually is like forever. And they're not, when they do finally commit, they're not going to leave the person and they're not going to get divorced because it's solid when they do finally commit. It's just that it takes them a little bit later, and they usually end up getting married later in life. The worst love matches for a life path number 6 are 1, 5, and 7. Again, like I said, 6s want to start families, they want commitment, they want to get married early in life. 5s and 7s, they do not want that right away. And they're more independent. And so yeah, not a good combination. So the worst love matches for a life path number 7 are 2, 3, 6, 8, and 9. A 7 will probably look at a life path number 2 and think that they're very needy because the 2 needs companionship and the 7 doesn't. The 7 will probably look at the life path number 3 and think that they're a little scattered because 7s tend to be very focused and they're very in their head, and 3s are they're kind of the opposite. They're very extroverted, and 6s and 7s don't go well together because they're very opposite each other. The numbers that are right next to each other tend to be kind of the opposite of each other. And so they usually don't go well together. So like whatever number comes right next to another number. So in the case of a 6, they're very service oriented, very domestic. It's about the family, and 7s are quite different than that. They have a love and a passion for learning and gathering information and knowledge. And 6 is not going to understand that because 6s, their love is of domestic affairs, the family, the home. And so they're just not going to understand why a 7 always has to be learning something new and researching things. They'll think that a 7 is too intellectual for them, and a 7 will think that a 6 is not intellectual enough. So 7 and 8 are also not a good combination. 8s tend to be very focused on the material aspects of life. They're very hard workers, and they are here to build wealth, and they're here to build abundance and create, business opportunities. And so a 7 will look at an 8 and think that they are too materialistic and too obsessed with work and material things in life. And an 8 will look at a 7 and think that they're either too spiritual and religious, or they'll think that they're too academic. So not a good combination. The worst love matches for a life path number 8 are 3, 7, and 9. Again, 3, 7, and 9 are all odd numbers. 8 is an even number. 8 and 9 are right next to each other, and like I said, when two numbers are right next to each other, they tend to be the opposite of each other. 8s are all about the material aspects of life. They're here to create businesses and create wealth for themselves, as well as for the greater good. So they usually will create companies that benefit them, but these companies also benefit other people as well. 9s are not like that at all. They could care less about making money. Their focus is on helping humanity and doing humanitarian work for other people. So they are not business people. They could care less about starting businesses or anything like that. So those two are not a good combination. The worst love matches for a life path number 9 are 4, 7, and 8. All of those are even numbers. 9 is an odd number. The worst love matches for life path number master number 11 are 3, 4, and 6. So there's not very many that are bad combinations for number 11, and that's because, as I mentioned before, 11s have the qualities of number 1, and they also have the qualities of a number 2. So whatever numbers go well with a life path number 1 are going to go really well with a master number 11. So there you have it, the worst love matches for your life path number. And as I mentioned before, if you happen to be in a relationship with one of these people, don't worry, don't freak out. It just means that there are certain differences within the other person that you need to accept and just come to terms with. Instead of trying to change that person, If you can see that these are differences that are just natural to them and it's just the way they were born and this is just part of their life path, then that will make the relationship a lot easier and there will be a lot less fighting and a lot less conflict. If you can learn to work these differences out and accept these differences within each other, then an incompatible love match will be a lot less challenging for you. If you need some more guidance with this, you can check out my services. I give guidance to couples based on the numbers in their chart, and it is extremely helpful for a lot of people. So you might want to check that out if you're interested. So I hope that this information was helpful to you today, and I hope that you learned something from it. If you have any questions for me specifically as to what numbers are good for your number versus what numbers are not good for your number, you can leave those comments below and I will try to get to them. If you want to check out my services, I will leave the information to that below as well as the information to that app that will help you to determine your life path number very, very easily. Like I said, this app is free and I don't have any affiliation to it. I just want to give you this information because I really want to help you. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and you can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. I am sending you light and love. Take care.